So I wanted to begin by acknowledging Jacinta's welcome to country because I've come to live in Darug country and it's been a really important time for me. So when you look west from here and you see the line of the ridge, the blue mountains beyond, where the line of the ridge meets the Nepean River is where I live. So I feel very grounded in this place. But the Nepean River becomes the Hawkesbury River just here where we are, and then goes out to the sea at Palm Beach, at Barrenjoey, and Scotland Island in that area is where I lived when I had my first two babies. So I feel very connected as place does, and as water moves and keeps you entwined, really. I also want to acknowledge Alison and Takawaho's wonderful performance of the intellectual possibilities and challenges of relationality, of their different knowledge traditions and practices, as a perfect beginning to the Summer Institute. And the choice of our presentation follows the tradition of the Manchester Metropolitan University Summer Institute as the last presentation in the conference. So we've kind of bookended this conference. So the tradition at Manchester is that the host actually does the last keynote, so that at the time when people are all leaving, you don't have one of your international speakers programmed to do the keynote. So that's how it works, and the Manchester Metropolitan Institute, Summer Institute, is on in the middle of next year. For those of you who would like to go, it looks like a wonderful event, and Gabrielle, who's with us today, will be one of the keynotes. I'd also like to link to Rosie's tour de force, which is a pretty hard act to follow for any keynote speaker. But what stays with me today is the green humanities of the earth and the blue humanities of the sea. The reason why that stays with me is because I feel like I've never fitted into any academic discipline, which I think is common for a lot of us. And a lot of people have said this week to me, I don't really fit where I am in sociology of education or whatever. And I've said, well, this is your academic community. You make networks here and you grow those networks. Our networks are way beyond universities, national borders, and they link across the world. And in the important work that we've got to do for the planet, those networks are absolutely crucial. So when my students ask me what field of research I'm in, because we have to always put ourselves in those boxes, I say to them, I'm in the green field and the blue field. The green field is the earth and the blue field is the sky. They're my fields of research. So give to the institution what you need to give, but know that you belong to the earth, to the world. You don't belong in those boxes. So then Veronica took me to a place where I so much needed to go. So thank you, Veronica. On Wednesday morning with the temporalities of fungi and moss and trees and children and different ways of being and thinking in the world. And I really needed that on Wednesday. And then Carlina, thank you, who took us deeper and deeper into that space of entanglement where we can no longer recognise ourselves as autonomous individuals. And where we have to understand that we're deeply implicated into the fabric and beings of the world. So our presentation today pretty much continues on from there. And I guess that the beginning point and end point of this presentation, and it doesn't really have any conclusion because it's a performance for the three of us who are here today and for the others who are with us in spirit. The beginning and the end point is that we were always already entangled. We don't have to start being entangled or even start to think about it. We are always already there. So my question is, if we are all of us implicated in country and in the more than human, what are our ethical responsibilities as researchers? And what are our responsibilities in our everyday lives? Whoops, I'm trying to change it or not. Okay, so I'd also like to acknowledge that my beginning point for all of this was as a very young woman in the Western Desert. I went there with my husband, who was trained to be a teacher on Aboriginal settlements. I had never met an Aboriginal person before. I had grown up in Sydney, and all of a sudden I was 250 miles northwest of Alice Springs with no outside communication except a weekly plane flight. That was all. No car, no money, and I had nothing else to do but to become part of a minority of white people living in an Aboriginal settlement. A year later we were at Papunya, which is where this is taken, and because I had access to a four-wheel drive vehicle and I didn't have a job, I had two little children, the women who were my skin name, so I was Numerai and these women were my skin name, would come and get me to take them to country in the four-wheel drive. And when we went to country, they wanted to do ceremony, and they expected me to do ceremony with them, because for them, no one of childbearing age doesn't know how to do ceremony. It would be inconceivable. They had only been in the settlement for 8 years. They still practiced ceremony and they spoke language and so on. So my learning was very visceral. I didn't have anthropology, I didn't have any language framework. I danced, we got painted up, we sang, and I just did the whole thing just by learning from them, fairly badly I have to say, and a lot of it was bursting into gales of laughter, as it often is when you're doing things with Aboriginal people. There's lots of laughing, it's not all serious. And then I would go home at night to my white house with my clothes over my body and feel underneath the kangaroo fat and the grit of ochre and the ochre designs of my skin. And I guess for me there was an incommensurability in that space, a space of not knowing that I've sat with all of my life, that's still there, that I don't want to feel with understanding or explanation, but has always influenced my academic work. So I really want to acknowledge this. So our collaborative presentation involves the voices of the four of us, and that's always quite a risky thing to do. So thanks Alison and Te Kawaho for starting us off. Chrissiejoy can't be with us, and I'll be reading her words. So the words that I'll be saying that are Badges and Chrissiejoy's are actually their words that have been recorded. They're not my words. And of course I'll be reading Badges because he can't be with us. So Chrissiejoy came to the University of New England in January 2000 to enrol in a PhD. She supplied the usual documents, among them her birth certificate, and this is the text of her birth certificate. So I sensed in these few words of identity a big, big story that would gather me up in its momentum, but I had no idea what would emerge. 500 kilometres due west of the office where we sat and talked, I visited the Narran Lake in all of its seasons, becoming intimately attached through Chrissiejoy's memories. Chrissiejoy said, I don't remember a time without the lake. There were times when it dried back, but they were quite rare. It was always full, and in season there'd be thousands and thousands of birds. You'd wake up in the morning to birds getting a fright, taking off and making a terrible clatter, then going to sleep at the night time, listening to all the birds, that lull chatter that you hear of an evening. The narrow lake was everything to Chrissiejoy, the source of her ongoing existence, and the reason we developed the methodology of thinking through country. As a police liaison officer, her time with me doing her PhD was punctuated by frequent and traumatic calls on the mobile. Someone has been raped, someone else's children have been removed from their care, someone is assaulted. I wondered how she had the fortitude to take on all of this pain and suffering, but she kept that aside as her other life. My work was to facilitate the bringing into words her worlds through her doctoral research. She struggled with academic forms, and it was not until her presentation at doctoral school in the second year of study that we came to understand that in order to make any knowledge claims at all, Chrissiejoy had to think through country, the specific country of the Narran Lake, and our collaborative methodology was born. So in her presentation to her fellow doctoral students, Chrissiejoy created a carefully orchestrated performance in conversation with her non-Indigenous audience, using her paintings, oral storytelling, Yuwali and Eranjinbori languages, and the act of translation, and all was assembled on a DVD. Each of these elements made meaning in relation to each other part of the performance. When referring to her Aboriginal knowledge, she called herself by her Aboriginal name, Immiboagurramilbun. 2 names, 2 worlds. In this, her overview painting, she began with the country of the Narran Lake. She said, starting in the centre top of the painting, this jigsaw piece is viewed as a mud map of the Noongarmbura country. The black lines are the rivers within and marking the boundaries of this country, and the black orb in the centre represents the Narran Lake, where I was raised, and which has always been the most significant and sacred site for Noongarmbura, Murray-Darling, Ngunnawal peoples. The centre of the jigsaw puzzle is the Narran Lake's creation story, formed by the thrashing tail of the giant lizard, Buria. This is where place became country for me, and I was changed through its process and its meanings. Through her ontology painting that Chrissiejoy called Me, Myself and I, she explains the concept of mulberry, preferring the Eranjinbori language word rather than the more common translation of totem. She said at the beginning, all was mulberry, only creative power and intent. Through the intent and power of our Creator, mulberry reproduces into form to carve the beings and shapes of the world, where the water meets the sky and earth sings the world to life. The pattern of life is mulberry, and mulberry is traced in the nidri, the law of the dreaming. Every tracing, every rock, tree, plant, landform, the water, fish, reptile, bird, animal, and mudri, who is the person, is in the sacred relationship through the nidri. The pattern, shape, and form of mulberry is life, and all is a continuing tracing of mulberry. So I begin to understand, as Chrissiejoy explains, the meaning of the swans. She said the black swans were always there, even before the lake. It was always Tarawa, the home of the black swan. They were part of the lake and the lake was part of them. They owned the land. To us we belong to it. They have more right to it than we did because they were there first. They made their nests, raised their chicks in the lignum. In this ontology painting, Chrissiejoy explained that her mother is Swan. Noongarra people collectively are Swan. Swan belongs to the time and place of the creation of land and people of Tarawa in the past, the present and the future. Those who carry that identity are both Swan and place. Country, Swan and person are together an ontological reality. When we adapted Thinking Through Country for the water project, Chrissiejoy did a painting of the Narran Lake, which she described as finding and knowing place of self and others in country. She explains it as a practical methodology, the learning that begins in childhood, embedded within their everyday lives. Welcome, Auntie Jean.
Oh,
Darling.
just sneaky. Thank you, sorry.
Yeah, right. As children, we spent much time following the life cycle of the grub, as we did with all other animals, birds, insects and plant life. We would learn when they mated, how the mother prepared for her babies. We watched the young grubs grow and we knew how and when they reached maturity. You can imagine the depth of knowledge gained from this kind of learning. It not only gave knowledge about the insect itself, but also about everything connected to it, the type of conditions most favoured. We learned what happened when floods or drought hit the area, what the grub needed for survival, and what other animals and birds fed on the grub, the grub itself. In addition, we were shown how it all connected to us. I love the way that comes last. As I look into this painting, I am struck by the I in the centre. That is both Tarawa, the home of the black swan, and the I of Chrissiejoy's relentless gaze meeting mine. In March 2005, after we received funding for our future work together about the Narran Lake, I sat with Chrissiejoy in her house in Granville in Sydney's western suburbs in a completely darkened room. As a result of the intense pain from a spinal injury, Chrissiejoy had begun to have frequent severe migraine headaches, often requiring hospitalisation and injections of pethidine. There in that dark and airless room, I sat with this woman who I had so grown to love and felt her story of unimaginable pain and suffering. The grandmother who witnessed the killing of her people and experienced atrocities too terrible to speak of. The mother who fled to a place far distant from her home in case her baby was taken away, then died in childbirth. The daughter who has taken on so much trauma of others. I have heard many Aboriginal stories of trauma, but never had it been so intense and so close to my heart as this. In Judith Butler's words, "For I am confounded by you, then you are already of me, and I am nowhere without you. I cannot muster the we except by finding the way in which I am tied to you, by trying to translate, but finding that my own language must break up and yield if I am to know you. You are what I gain through this disorientation and loss. This is how the human comes into being again and again and again, and that is what we have yet to know." Each time we began another story in that dark and airless room, there was a long pause as Chrissiejoy travelled back in time and place to the rhythm of their daily life by the lake. It was the lake, in all of its rhythms and cycles, that gave her the strength to endure. So Daphne was the first artist to join the project after Chrissiejoy became ill. I ran into her in Coles supermarket and asked if she wanted to join our research as an artist and paint her country. She stopped in her tracks and immediately began to talk about going home, about feeling that spiritual connection, about her country that had no grass.
Yep. Here. Can't see this. I'd like to acknowledge we are standing here today on our country. Always have to do that. And acknowledge our ancestors past and present and future. When Margaret mentioned my country had no grass, a lot of people say to me when I'm like in other countries, like it has no grass, not much bush. But people say, oh, you shouldn't be scared, you come from the bush. I'd always say my country had no bush or no grass. So when I go other places, people get frightened, grass and bush. We're not on the show mittens, are you?
We're on the mittens.
Oh yeah, we're on the mittens. I did that quick.
So you can see that here.
Oh, that's good. Okay, when we went out to the show meetings out on the lake, got a feeling that someone like our old ancestors' spirits are watching, all the time, like eyes are on you. And they're watching to make sure, we don't go there and like do anything wrong. They're also watching like over here to protect it. And that's why we want to acknowledge our old people. And also ask for protection when we like out of the country where we don't belong. But my mother family belonged to this place, the Aurora people. And first time I went out there with my mum, oh God, I can't spell it. First time I went out there with my mother, she said to me about the shell meetings. This is where like all our ancestors sat and broke open mussel shell and ate. And then when I went out again with Margaret and everyone in the car, so when you go out there you get a feeling of everyone watching, and you can imagine like everyone sitting around, like old people and children, sitting around and break open the shellfish and cooking it, and having a big feast. The first picture, like the first photo, up the top, maybe it's your left hand, that photo shows a lot of rock tools for breaking open the shell. So first time we went there, they were all over the ground. Second time we went there, none left. Because they took out students from Golden University. They picked them all up. But anthropology students, but yeah. It's terrible, but yeah, there was none there the next time we went out. But when you hit this place, like you can actually feel the old people's spirit, like they're coming out of the lake. You can feel them all around you. Like we have a saying, when the breeze brush against your skin, that's your loved ones like checking in on you. Making sure you're all right. So, I think that's all I have to say. And this is the shell mittens. I used very expensive, really expensive paint. The pearl white, because it's the actual pearl powder crushed to give the shimmer in it. And like on the there's a mirage on the horizon that sort of represents a little bit of water. I used a really, really bright blue, like sort of like metallic, to give it the feel that it's really, really hot. It was 50 degrees that day we went out. That's why the intense blue was used to, so you know, when you look at it, you can feel, oh, it must be hot country. And then down the bottom, the black is ash from the fire. Then you've got all the broken shells that was cooked on the fire. Yeah, so you can sort of really feel how hot it is out there on the lake. When it's dry, no water in it. So, and it's been dry a lot lately. Yeah.
Okay, so Daphne painted the midden painting when she came back, and she gave it to me, and I consider it a gift of country. And a gift of country is a gift without entitlement, a gift that just keeps coming and coming. And the painting travels with me, holding the place and our shared memories and stories, and something of Daphne's material thinking, a creation that stretches out between us like a thin, unbreakable membrane.
No, it's still.
You're still on lead and power?
No, we can't.
All the while I was recording Daphne making her artworks, my husband was ill. It was like two parallel stories running side by side in my life. My work with Daphne and my personal dealing with the process of his dying, until the two came together in the Binham painting. My husband passed away during the ages it took for the butterfly wings to emerge in the fine white filigree veins that shaped their form. Returning home to Armidale, I went to visit Daphne to let her know. She made me a cup of tea and we sat together at her dining room table, drinking our tea over the Binham painting. She started to talk about my husband quietly and with great presence. It was as if she called him up to be with us. Daphne, me, the Binham painting, and him.
So, well, I first met Graham and I first went to Armidale to Margaret's husband. He was the Aboriginal
Education officer.
Yeah, he was the Aboriginal education officer because, because I'm a dropout runaway, didn't get year 10, didn't get year 12, didn't get year 12. And I dropped out, I ran away at 12 and 9 months, and a few years later I was 19 and someone said to me, oh, you should, go and get a tertiary education, whatever, get a job, even though I can't spell English. So I ended up in Armidale to go to TAFE and try to get into early childhood, where I'm teaching preschool and that. And like I didn't get in because I didn't have I didn't finish school, I didn't finish year 12. And I weren't, we say, educated enough, white man way, or we say white man way. Then Graham went, next day he found out, he's taking care of all this like Murray and Murray students that came into Armidale, and he suggested, they're running a new course up at the Old Teachers College, how would you like to go? And I said, I don't think I'd get in because TAFE wouldn't accept me in then get into Old Teachers College. He said, that's right, I'll get you in. I laughed at him and I didn't think he would. And then, anyway, he went off and he actually got me in. Like it got me into like a diploma in Aboriginal studies, it was called. It was really strange because we were studying like Northern Territory, like New South Wales. So I was really, what? But anyway, and it was a course to, there's 48 students, and it was a course to, like, so we can go and work in community service and things like that. And I still can't believe Graham got me in. But before, he had a special way. He would, you know, make jokes about Margaret. He'd say to me and other students, you know, he'd say things like, "Oh, have you eaten today?" If you say no, "Oh, come over to my place. Margaret will cook up a feed and feed you." So every now and then he'd take our student back because we haven't eaten. So he sort of looked after us and it, like, because we knew no one up there, he took us under his wing and, you know, he looked after us, he watched out for us. And he was the only one we had, like, you know, in a strange place. So he was the first one I met when I went to Armidale. And we come back to Margaret's place and Margaret would get up and like study and then she'd get up and make a feed. So that's what she did for us. But he dragged, you know, without no warning or whatever, we just turn up sometime, eh?
Yep.
Or feed. Yeah. So that's our, you know, my relationship with Graham. And also, 5 months before he passed over, he came down and I spotted him. And I went, oh, I never ever thanked him for what he did for me. I never ever thanked him for changing the whole direction of my life. So I wander over and I give him a big hug and he told me just coming from the desert and I said, you know, I never ever thanked you. And I hugged him and I said, thank you very much for changing my life. Thank you, I wouldn't have met my partner Harold. And also I wouldn't have my daughter Alpana. So he did, he changed my whole life because if he wasn't there and saying, hey, there's this new course, I would have just sent him up back home and probably like 12 kids later. But anyways, that's life out home. But you know, I've got one and I think I'm really lucky that I've met him and I had that opportunity. I think it's very special. I think he visits sometimes, the spirit. Yeah, he has some visits. But so when I was painting the Bin butterfly paintings, the veins in the butterfly like took forever. That was the longest painting to paint. When I was working on this project, like it took so long doing the veins in the butterfly. The centre bit, Bin the butterfly people like caterpillar people like. Do I tell? I'll tell the story right. Yeah. It did take a long time. These series of paintings I did in oil paint. Oil paint sometimes got no control over the medium, so you've got to have like measurement, make sure it's right measurement, like a spirit leveler. Because you can go to sleep and you wake up something totally different. Yeah. Ooh, and then you go, oh, that's a nice mistake. So with the butterfly story, I decided to put a person in the middle of it. Like instead of the actual caterpillar shape, I decided to do like a person shaped like spirit, because the actual painting actually relate to death. I first heard the story at my husband's funeral in '97, and with Mum's people, there's still some old ways of practice within the Catholic Church. So what normally takes place with my mum, a lot takes place with my mum family, but when someone passes over, they'll do like smoking. They smoke like when you walk into a church, which is sort of foreign. So there's smoking, they'll do smoking of the coffin, smoking of everyone walking in, smoking of the actual immediate family. Then when we get out the cemetery again, smoking will be carried out. This is to send the spirit on its journey. And that's why there's rules, like we don't mention their names for 10 years. But we can say grandkids have been 10 years. Yeah, so so you don't mention their name because you still call them back. So that's a belief, like belief. But with the Binnaminum painting, I had to paint it like after you at my uncle's funeral. And it's also other family members. This story is told before the church stuff. And because we don't, my grandfather wouldn't allow us to learn religion, other religion. Like everyone be sitting down on the riverbank playing bingo, this is an example. And he said, I think it was Jehovah's Witness would turn up and try to, like all little kids, try to give you a little lollipop, like cognac at the bus stop. And I'll start I'll start trying to, tell us about the Bible and that. And then you wouldn't believe it, there'd be like 20, 30, 40 people down on the riverbank. And then, because we weren't allowed to learn other religions, and you should see our mob, they were running with sticks and rocks and chucking at their car like Jason was the reserve. Because we weren't allowed to learn it because he believed that was our belief. What do you call it? Because he wanted us to have our belief. Yeah. Where am I? So with the Binnaminum painting the story, the Uluru people went down to the river and they met a beautiful group of people, and they were the Caterpillar people, the Caterpillar people. And the Uluru people, like they had a good time, they shared food, they went fishing, and then they had a really good time, everyone did, the Uluru and the Binnaminums. And then the Binnaminums went away, and the Uluru people went away, and when they came back next time, to this same place, there was other people there. And so the Uluru people started having a big mourning ceremony, crying, smoking, and then the Binnaminum butterfly people said to the Uluru people, "Why are you having a mourning ceremony?" And the Uluru people said, "Oh, the Binnaminum Caterpillar people must have passed over because they're not here." And then the Binnaminum people said, "No, we didn't pass over. We just transformed from caterpillar, meaning the spirit transformed from the caterpillar into a beautiful butterfly." So they were the same people, same lovely people and sharing. So that's that story to that one. The Binnaminums. And that's it now. Okay. Thank you.
So I'm going to work my way fairly quickly through the next bits because we've running a bit late. It's okay, it's all good. So we actually exhibited the Binnaminum painting in our first exhibition, well the Binnaminum painting and the Binnaminum painting. And that was when we first started working with Badger's work as well. So I'm just going to quickly go through these slides. I'm not going to read all the text, but this is Badger and I started with a map of the country, and you'll see how extensive that is by the fact that at the top it goes into Queensland, and on your left-hand side it goes into South Australia, and it goes nearly to Victoria down the bottom. So that's the extent of Badger's story knowledge. The red line is his story knowledge line, and the green line is the line where he got taken by his grandmother to escape the welfare so that he wouldn't get taken away. And he says even though he didn't like it at the time, it was a huge way of learning knowledge because everywhere they went, they stopped with family and he learned more. So this, again, is his country again, and this is one of the maps that, like the map that we've used on the exhibition, that shows what Badger's country is like looking down. That's a huge area of country, thousands of kilometres, but you can see the river, various rivers actually winding through there. This is Badger's lino print. Badger's main work is lino print. He always also does sculptures, but this is a lino print that he calls Iron Hole Bend, and it shows the two Ngachis, the rainbow serpents in the river, that actually create the energies of the water and the energies of the world. All the foods are there that his grandmother caught for their daily life, and the animals that you can see coming in, we know are Dreamtime animals, so they reflect the storylines. So there's the brolga and the goanna and the kangaroo down the bottom, and that's Lake Waituka on the side, and there's the story about the emu in the sky above, and the moon are all there. But one of the things for me was that I found Badger's stories so extensive and so hard to get a grip on, so hard to understand. And it wasn't until he took us out to Peary Lake, which is an inland lake, which is just so extraordinary. So you saw that huge expanse of bare desert earth. And then you come to this amazing place that's just water and trees and emus and artefacts on the ground there. And we had the most amazing day at Peary Lake. One of the things Badger did was explain about the storylines that go in and out of the lake. And he pointed out these very, very ancient inscribed marks on the rock that are the tracks. You can just see them there. They're made by chipping into the rock in little dots and patterns of the tracks of the Dreamtime animals as they came in and through Peary Lake. And this is Badger's lino print that actually shows again the Ngachis, so that the Ngachis, the rainbow serpents, that he always does in twos. Again with that lines of energy and force creating the waterways, and in the middle the little mound spring that is there always. So even when that lake goes dry, there's always water in the mound spring. It bubbles up from underneath, and that's an incredibly important survival thing in the desert, to know those stories and to be able to get the water there. But one of the really interesting things that happened there, and I'll move on to TREAHNA's story now, is that TREAHNA first joined us on that field trip to Wilcannia. So she joined the project when I moved to Victoria. And she travelled all the way from Yarrawonga on the Murray River with 3 really heavy metal engravings in her suitcase. And I was really puzzled because I had always imagined that the artists would be making artworks from their own country. And so I figured on this day when we were going to Peary Lake that maybe TREAHNA was planning to spend some time in Wilcannia on her own work. So I suggested she might want to stay behind in the art space and just be free to do the work, because we were getting towards the end of our time there. So when we returned, I found TREAHNA absorbed in etching the shiny surface of this 3rd metal plate, and she was trembling with the excitement of the story of her day in the art workshop. So her hands were moving in a very mobile fashion over the plate, and she was talking to me about it as she went, and making these lines in black bitumen on shiny silver. But I was absolutely stunned into silence, because I felt bad that she hadn't been with us at Peary Lake. But when I looked at 2 of the images that she made, it was absolutely as if she was there with us. They were identical images that I had in my mind of that day at Peary Lake.
Good morning, everyone. I'd basically like to acknowledge the DAPHNE people of the place we meet, also our ancestors past and present, and Auntie. So thank you for coming along, and any other Aboriginal people here today. My story comes from two worlds. When people say sitting on the fence, it's not an understatement for me. I was taken at birth from my Aboriginal mother in Melbourne. I was born, and I reconnected when I was 27 years old. So my story is that I've always felt connected to my country. I was actually taken back to my tribal homelands by my adopted mum and dad in a time where Aboriginal people were being confused and taken from one area to another. I was taken home, and so was my brother, to the place where we belonged. So I really felt a sense of connection being young, being a toddler even, and there was one instance when we were swimming down the river and there's cliffs in the river and you can easily fall down them. I fell down once and I felt a force push me up to the surface of the water again. So I had a talk to my traditional mum. I've got five mothers, never a mother, and she basically was a spirit of the river looking after me for such an early age. So I met Mark at my PhD supervisor's house, and we had a really special relationship from the first day we met. We could understand exactly what each other was speaking about. We'd come from different journeys in our lives, but there was sort of like, apart from academic talk, there was just some underlying special bond that we shared. And this took place through the project Water in Dry Land. My background is that coming from Yarrawonga, which means river pigeon or water pigeon, it has a large lake which has been man-made, and it was made in the 1920s for irrigation for southern New South Wales and northern Victoria, basically. So it was a lake that was made over the tribal homelands as well. The river is a creation site and it's very special. So water's always been, it's always been very important to me, living and growing up by the river and actually being able to share my stories with Mum. So at the time, we've got this one. So storytelling is very important with traditional people, and it's always talking to my elders that I find are totally connected to culture. Who know the story of the land can make that connectedness feeling very special. So you do feel like you're very privileged and you do gain special knowledge, but you have to gain a trust with them because they don't give information easily. Along the way when I was doing my PhD, I came across the word theory, which was penned by Auntie Miriam Rose. So with the project, it was important to me to carry these feelings of connectedness right out to Uncle Badger's country where the Papundi people live. And because the rivers connect us through our traditional stories and our culture, we always have to realise that there's a certain DNA which travels through spiritual vibrations through the land with water that connect us to our rivers. So my stories are connected to Uncle Badger's stories as well. We share a history, especially when we know our old people and respect them as well. So the theory is an inner, deep listening and still and quiet awareness. It recognises the deep spring that is inside us. We do call on it and it calls on us. That is the gift that Australia is thirsting for. It's something like what you call contemplation. In our Aboriginal way, we learn to listen from the earliest days. We could not live good and useful lives unless we listened. This was a normal way for us to learn, not by asking questions. We learned by watching and listening, waiting, and then acting. So most people are not threatened by the silence. They're completely at home within it. They have lived thousands of years with nature's quietness. My people today recognise and experience this quietness, the great life-giving spirit, and it's the father of all of us. So at the moment I'm teaching in Catholic education, but there's lots of parallels between some of the stories that they have and what we have. Okay. So here we can see all the variations of Uncle Badger's work and my work and my own experience at the lake. And it was like a transcending vibrations. It's something that you gain with only talking to really strong elders that are connected to the land and they can pass it on to you. Okay. So I didn't know whether, being way out in the bush from the river, probably 8 hours away from home, we come across Karen. And Karen had lived in Canberra. That was one of the etchings that I did with bitumen and painted it up. She actually had a photo of my birth mother, Yvonne, and I'd only had one photo of her ever. So she worked with her, she researched Lake Mungo, but on the way she stopped in where my mother's mother grew up at Cumbergunga Mission, and that's where she had interviewed and she had met my mother in the past. So there's a lot of reflections on this trip, but past, present and future was something I realised that we carried with us all the time, no matter where we were, and this could happen with just meeting strangers who had something really close to my heart, a photo of my mother. Like I say, I had one photo of her. After I finished my PhD, I worked at Monash University as a research fellow with Margaret in School of Education. And we talked a lot about family, and Mark told me a lot about her family and the fact that little Eva Luna was coming into the world. But around that time, I did a special artwork, which was a possum skin quote. I'll let Mark just fill you in about her experiences first.
Mm-hmm. So the extraordinary thing for me was that Trina had stayed behind at the art space at Wilcannia, and she ran into Karen, who knew her mother, and she had only met her mother a few times, and so we walked together to Karen's place because Trina was too nervous to go alone. But when we were walking, we were talking all the way as you do, and I was talking about my memories of a few weeks before my daughter had given birth to my granddaughter, and it was a difficult birth and she was at risk, and I had gone up to be with her. But then when I went back to Gippsland, my daughter sent me a photo of the baby and told me that she couldn't wake her and that she was cold and that she wouldn't feed. And I was terrified because I looked at the face of this little baby and I thought, this little baby is halfway between this world and the other. She's not really with us. And I was 8 hours away and I didn't know what to do. And during this time, some birds had visited every day, and I was texting Trina and telling her about the birds and telling her about the baby and asking her, what should I do? So our texts were like this kind of psychic line of connection that kind of held me afloat because I was so terrified. And so Trina said that the birds are the ancestors, and they've come on the waterways, they're water birds, and they're there to look after you. So that was the time when she actually made the baby cloak. So she stitched the baby cloak to protect the baby. This is Trina making the baby cloak, and another extraordinary thing that happened was that all our cloaks, the possum skins come from New Zealand, but during this time a lady had come from the other side where Trina lived and bought a box with possum skins that had been sold at Trina's River shot in 1926, and they had been preserved. So she used those skins to make the cloak for the baby, and as you saw in the picture of me with the baby actually survived. So this is the story. So do you want to tell the story of the cloak?
Well, it's made up of symbols, which is a universal language. The traditional symbols there is the round circle, which holds the birds, the sentinel guardians of life, or also the worm. But we have special trees on the river called birthing trees, and when they are young saplings, they're tied together. There's many special trees on the river. Sometimes I suppose it just keeps within the people that we trust with our knowledge. There's also the river, which connects us as well, and it's what connected Marg and myself to the birds. There's all different textures of the land. And I thought it was I'd done a lot of possum skin cloak making in my PhD, and reviving the tradition that hadn't been done for about 150 years. There were only 5 left in the world. A lot of them went around because people were buried in them. But there was one that survived from my tribal homelands at Moana, which was called the Maiden's Punt cloak, which is the old word for Moana. And working on those possum skin cloaks, the very old ones, the traditional ones, it was like the spirits of the old people who made it were laying there, and they've been laying there within a museum for over 100 years, and it's like touching it and looking at it again, the spirits were released. So I knew if I made a baby cloak for Marg and Eva, then there would be that release of spirits as well. A lot of people say or question possum skins, and usually ask questions about how much they're worth. Well, really, you can't put it down to a monetary value, really, because it's not just the pelts, it's a cultural knowledge on top. So it's a cultural knowledge built over many, many years of having a relationship with our old people, and knowing that the birds can come to us, and realising that, and even stitching it together, that every process in making this cloak was important, and to give Marg strength for little Eva, and for Marg to be able to put it around her. That was the thing, but to wrap herself in a country and wrap herself in our land.
Okay, so yeah, hand it around. So one of the nice things about this cloak and having a cloak that was made for me is that it doesn't live in a museum. So I can take it with me, and people can feel it and touch it and smell it and get a sense of what it means. So that's pretty much it. The ending place is the new exhibition. So as you would all know, there is no ending place to this work. There is no conclusion. It is just an ongoing questioning, an ongoing working out of how to do it. This was a risky business and didn't turn out at all like I thought it was going to turn out, but that's how it is. And I'd like to open it up for questions. And I'm sorry we've got a bit over time, but we did start.
Margaret, why do you say that was risky business? Can you talk about that?
Well, it's much easier if you have a script that you can stick to, like Alison and Takawiho have had a fairly neat script that they departed from a little bit, and that feels a lot safer. Alison's nodding there. And I talked to Alison when I was in Auckland recently about the fact that I would try and do this collaborative presentation. But none of the artists, and if Badger was here, it would have been 3 of them, wanted to read. So I had no control over the timing of it. So I just had to sort of hand over to it will be what will be. And that's quite a scary thing to do in front of a large audience, not having control. But then the whole thing is about not having control.
It's so beautiful.
Anyone else?
Okay, I'm just going to use the microphone. If there's no further questions, then I think that we'll close the session. Over time, I've been asked on many occasions to introduce and close the session, and it's an incredible responsibility. One thing that I've always avoided through my life is pretending to speak on behalf of everybody about the significance of what has just transpired. And so I won't break with my own tradition, except to know by the feelings that we share, the spaces that we share, that this has been a very important, very powerful, moving and significant experience for all of us, and to thank our presenters and Badger from the bottom of our hearts.
Can I just take a little tiny bit of time to do some thank yous, because this is our last gathering. So I would like to particularly thank the research support staff who've been just tirelessly working behind the scenes. So Tracy and Jane and Joey, who work with us on this. I'd like to thank the people that facilitated the talking groups for all of their work each week. So Eileen and our 3 theme leaders for all the work that they've done in making this conference happen. So Karen and David and Suzanne and Chris for all the work that you've done in making this conference happen. And last of all, I'd like to bring Badger back into the room, and with Perry Lake. So one of the lovely things that Badger did, Badger travelled 1,200 kilometres to get here, and when he was halfway here, heard that his nephew had hung himself on that day. So he wasn't able to stay, but in his wonderful spirit of generosity, Badger bought 2 works to hang in the other room back there, and this is the Brolga print representing Pirri Lake that I talked about, and the other one back there is a beautiful, beautiful image that he did of the Narran Lake when Chrissiejoy became ill, to bring back happiness to her. So he's a wonderful, generous artist. But I'd like to present this to Tracy, to thank her for her work.
And it's so important to us is the generosity of hosts. That's a key relational thing. And one of the things that us visitors to this country, particularly from New Zealand and I'm sure other countries too, have so appreciated the open, warm generosity in every way of all of you who are our hosts. And from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you. And I say this probably on behalf of us all. We thank you so much for your generosity, your openness, and your ability to bring us all together in ways that I haven't experienced at other conferences. You've just been able to do it and weave in so many things together, and so generously and so warmly, that we go away feeling very full, very happy, and very excited about the next steps. So thank you very much.